it honestly was a little bit shocking to see kind of the lack of knowledge about skincare and especially the sun's effect on the skin. Patti, I mean, it says 52% of Gen Z adults were unaware that sunburn leads to skin cancer and premature skin aging.
I know. The data was petrifying. As we were putting together the introduction, I was like, let me go to the aad.org and see what's going on there. And they had just conducted this survey. And I mean, in a way, Ted, it doesn't surprise me because a 20-year-old doesn't think that anything is going to have ramifications. I mean, there were things in there that, said that basically they'd rather look good now and that they weren't all that worried about skin cancer and, that they had been sunburned recently and that they had been tanning. So there was a lot of data that came out of it that, it wasn't all that surprising because it's sort of the age at which you do things like that.
Yeah, you think you're invincible.
Exactly. They're probably smoking cigarettes and staying up too late and, doing all kinds of things that will be bad for them later, but you just don't think about it. So it was very interesting though, and I think the AAD has done a great job. But I love this survey. And then, they do a really good job trying to educate the public and using this data to say, look, you need to protect your skin. That's probably the most important thing. Because these are the same people are going to be in our offices 20 years later going, I need a laser and I need a chem peel and, please give me some filler. And where's my collagen gone? Well, it went up with the sun exposure. So it really is, like I said, it's a little bit shocking. I'd say it's more disheartening to me than anything because we've spent decades trying to educate young people about the dangers of sun exposure. And, you see this and it's just a little disheartening.
Yeah. Cheri, I mean, it's hard for me to kind of, on one hand, I see this younger group, like we know that they're drinking less alcohol, right? Because there's a 10 to 15% drop in the alcohol consumption. Because, there's data now to show that any alcohol consumption is bad for you. And they're taking that to heart. And yet, 28% of survey respondents said getting a tan was more important than preventing skin cancer.
Well,
so
I think one of the things we have to keep in mind is how we deal with sort of overall health versus appearance, right? Like beauty and the perception of beauty. Beauty is pain, is something that we say all the time. So we'll do just about anything to look good. But when it comes to those downstream effects for just overall health, I think that's not, on the forefront of our minds, especially when we're younger. And just now with social media, I think we'll touch on social media and the impact of social media because we discussed that in the paper, but everybody's face forward, right? Face forward, selfies, even now, we're doing a podcast with a video. So it's not just our voice, we're on camera. So we're just so mindful about how we look and that goes for all generations and they're feeling it more than ever. And just to the point of what you just discussed with Patti, there's just so much information out there. We were educating people and dermatologists were the experts, but now on social media, there's so many people who are talking about what's harmful, what's not. So, you may hear from a dermatologist, yes, sun exposure can lead to skin cancer and premature aging. But then you also have people who are, legs up saying, oh, you got to tan your nether regions, right, for better health. So there's just a lot of conflicting information out on social media, which is, why some people may say, oh, I didn't realize that sun exposure was such a problem. And then you have the people who just say, well, I know it's a problem, but it makes me look good. So I'd rather risk it now and deal with the consequences later.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm a little bit stuck on tanning the nether regions, but I'll let that one go. That could be a whole podcast episode.
Or not.